Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to discuss all the lessons of your next book, Vistas. And here we will begin from the first lesson, the third level. So stay tuned till the end to score high marks. So this is the first poem, My Mother at 66. We have divided into 4 sections so that it is easy for you to remember. In the first section we will discuss realization of aging. In the second one, distraction from pain. In the third section, final goodbye at the airport, and the fourth section, theme and message. So, realization of aging, observing the mother's weakness. Setting, a car journey. The poet is driving to the airport with her mother, sees her mother dozing off beside her. The mother's frailty, notices her mother's pale, lifeless face, compares her to a late winter's moon, dull and fading. First fear of loss. The realization strikes that her mother is growing old. A deep sense of anxiety and helplessness sets in. So we can say that poet travels with her mother, notices her mother's pale and weak face, and realizes the inevitable aging and mortality. Now, distraction from pain, shifting focus to avoid sadness. Looking outside the car window, tries to distract herself from painful thoughts. Observes young trees moving past and children playing. Symbolism of life and youth. The contrast between her mother's aging and vibrant outside world represents the cycle of life, youth versus old. Momentary escape from fear. The outside scenery offers a temporary relief. However, the fear of losing her mother lingers. So, in a nutshell, we can say poet distracts herself by looking outside, sees vibrant life, young trees playing children, briefly escapes her fear of mortality. Final goodbye at the airport, the emotional farewell. At the airport departure gate, bids goodbye to her mother before leaving, looks at her mother's face one last time. Painful childhood fear returns, recalls the fear of losing her mother from childhood. The same sorrow resurfaces as she faces reality, tries to stay stunning. Instead of breaking down, she smiles, uses her smile as a way to hide her pain and reassure her mother. Says goodbye at the airport, feels the same childhood fear of separation, smiles to hide pain and reassure her mother. Theme and message, universal theme of separation and aging, fear of losing a loved one. The poem beautifully captures the universal fear of losing parents. The poet struggles with accepting her mother's mortality. Cycle of life, the contrast between aging and youth, that is her mother and outside world, highlights the inevitable process of growing old. Silent strength in farewells. The poet chooses to smile instead of expressing her grief, shows the emotional strength needed to part with loved one. So we can say that aging and separation are inevitable. Life moves on despite pain. Love is expressed even in silent goodbyes. Now the next poem, Keeping Quiet. This also we have divided into 4 parts. Let's start. Call for silence and stillness. The poet's request for reflection. Poet's appeal for stillness urges everyone to count to 12 and be silent. Calls for a moment of pause in life's chaos. Importance of quietness. Silence is not just absence of noise but an opportunity for deep introspection. Encourages humans to understand themselves and others. Breaking barriers. In this moment of stillness, all division, national, linguistic, and racial, disappear. A rare chance for unity and peace. So we can say that poet asks for silence and stillness, encourages deep reflection, sees it as a path to unity. Now in second section, criticism of human activity. Destructive nature of mankind. War and environmental destruction. People are engaged in activities that harm the planet and each other. Calls out wars, exploitation of nature and overwork. Fishermen and salt gatherer as symbol. Fishermen hunting whales, that is, human destruction of nature. Salt gatherers are the people harming themselves in pursuit of material gain. Need for a break from self destruction. Silence will make people realize the damage they are causing. It is a way to rethink their actions and live harmoniously. So we can say that humans are destroying nature and themselves, fishermen and salt gatherers as metaphors. Silence can help us realize our mistakes. Now, in the third section, a new understanding of life. Stillness does not mean inactivity, not absolute inaction. The poet clarifies that silence doesn't mean being idle. It is about pausing to think, not stopping work permanently. Lessons from nature. Uses the image of the earth resting in winter but blooming again in spring. Highlights how temporary rest leads to renewal and growth, true peace and harmony. Urges people to embrace introspection to bring real change. Only by understanding ourselves can we bring peace. So we can say that silence does not mean laziness. Like nature, humans need rest for growth. Introspection leads to rest, real peace. Now, the fourth part, that is a poet's own reflection. Final thoughts on stillness and renewal. The poet's departure says he will count to 12 and leave, leaves the readers with the responsibility of self reflection. Call for change invites everyone to embrace silence and self awareness, hopes that by doing so, humans will find a better way to live. The ultimate message: silence and stillness can lead to personal and global information. Real change begins with understanding and awareness. So we can say that poets asked to reflect on ourselves, hopes for a peaceful world, leaves the readers to continue the journey of self discovery. Now, the next poem, A Thing of Beauty. The eternal joy of beauty, beauty as a source of happiness. Beauty brings everlasting joy. The poet states that a thing of beauty gives endless happiness. Its charm never fades and remains fresh in our minds, a constant source of comfort. Unlike worldly pleasure, beauty provides eternal peace. It acts like a soothing shade that refreshes the soul. A comparison to a bower of bliss. The poet compares beauty to a bower quiet for us, a peaceful shelter. Beauty nourishes our spirits just like a fountain provides water. So we can say that a thing of beauty is everlasting. It provides comfort and peace. Like a shade or fountain, it refreshes the soul. In section 2, the sorrows of human life, the struggles and sufferings we face, challenges in human life. The world is full of sadness, disappointments, and hardships. Humans often feel hopeless, disheartened, and trapped. The burden of negativity. The poet talks about gloomy days and the pale of despondence. People suffer due to greed, selfishness, and lack of kindness. How beauty counters suffering. Despite these troubles, beauty acts as a powerful healer. It provides hope, uplifts the soul, and keeps us motivated. So, in a nutshell, we can say human life is full of suffering and negativity. We experience gloom, hopelessness, and despair. Beauty helps us overcome these struggles. Now, the examples of beautiful things, different sources of beauty in nature. Beauty in nature. Beautiful aspects of nature bring joy and inspiration. Examples: the sun, moon, trees, rivers, and flowers. Now, beauty in legends and stories. The poet refers to tales of brave warriors and noble men. Their sacrifices and heroic acts are also a source of beauty. Spiritual and universal beauty. Beauty exists in both the physical world and in human virtues. It connects us to the divine and strengthens our bond with nature. So we can conclude that beauty exists in nature: sun, trees, flowers, and rivers. Beauty exists in legends and noble acts. Beauty is a divine and spiritual force. Beauty as an endless fountain. Final metaphor and message. Beauty is like a never ending fountain. The poet compares beauty to a mighty fountain of joy. It continuously flows, nourishes the soul forever. A gift from nature. This endless supply of beauty is a blessing from the heavens. It keeps our spirits alive even in difficult times. Moral. Beauty is a lifelong source of hope. No matter how harsh life becomes, beauty helps us endure. It is the ultimate force that keeps us connected to happiness. So we can conclude that beauty is like an ever-flowing fountain. It is a divine blessing. It keeps our souls alive and happy. Now the next poem, A Roadside Stand. The struggles of the poor villagers, desperation for a better life. The roadside stand, a small stall set up by poor farmers along the roadside. They hope to sell their farm products, hoping for a better life. Dreams of city customers. They expect city people passing by in their luxurious car to stop and buy. They believe that the urban buyers will support them financially. Reality, disappointment, and neglect. Hardly anyone stops to buy. If someone does stop, it is only to complain about trivial things. So we can say that poor villagers set up roadside stand who for customers from the city face neglect and disappointment. The indifference of the rich, the contrast between the rich and the poor, the city people's attitude. Urban travelers find the stand an eyesore. Instead of helping, they mock the villagers' efforts. False promises of politicians and planners. The government and rich planner make empty promises to uplift rural people. Instead of helping, they exploit the poor and relocate them to artificial settlement. The cycle of deception. The poor remain stuck in poverty while the rich continues to enjoy their luxuries. The promised relief never reaches the villagers. So we can say that city people ignore or mock the stand, politicians make false promises, and the poor remain trapped in poverty. The emotional pain of the poor, suffering in silence. The villagers' unspoken pain. They don't complain but silently suffer in misery. Their dreams of a better life remain unfulfilled. Poet's empathy. The poet deeply sympathizes with the plight of these poor villagers. He feels their pain and helplessness, a wish to end their suffering. The poet wonders if a merciful act could end their misery. He wishes someone could free them from the struggles overnight. So we can say that villagers silently endure their pain. Poet feels deep empathy, hopes for their suffering to end. Now the poem's message, critique of social inequality, the divide between the rich and the poor. The poem highlights the economic gap between urban and rural life. The poor struggle for survival while the rich remain indifferent. The false promises of development, the so-called progress and planning benefit only the rich. The villagers are always left behind. A call from genuine help and justice. Frost urges society to truly support the poor. Only real efforts, not empty promises, can bring meaningful change. Society is divided between rich and poor. Development often ignores the needy. Real support is needed for the true change. Now, the next, Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. Aunt Jennifer's Embroidery, a world of strength and freedom. The majestic tigers. Aunt Jennifer embroiders tigers on a tapestry. They are bright, fearless, and move freely in the green forest. Symbolism of the tigers. The tigers represent strength, confidence, and independence. Unlike Aunt Jennifer, they are not afraid of men or societal restrictions. A contrast with Aunt Jennifer. The tiger symbolizes the qualities she wishes she had. They are everything she is, not bold, free, and powerful. So we can conclude that Aunt Jennifer embroiders majestic tigers. Tigers symbolize strength and freedom. Contrast between Aunt's reality and her art. Aunt Jennifer's oppressive life, the burden of marriage, her trembling hands. Her fingers are weak and tremble under the weight of embroidery. This shows her physical and emotional suffering. The heavy wedding band. The wedding ring on her hand feels like a burden. It symbolizes the oppression and hardship of her married life. Her life of fear and submissiveness. She is dominated by her husband and societal expectations. Unlike the tigers, she lacks the freedom to express herself. So, we can conclude that Aunt's hand tremble under burden. Wedding band symbolizes oppression. Marriage has made her fearful and submissive. Her inevitable fate. Even in death, she remains oppressed. Poet's reflection on Aunt Jennifer's future. Even after death, Aunt Jennifer will remain trapped by her suffering. The ordeals of life will always define her. Tigers will continue to symbolize strength. Despite Aunt Jennifer's death, her tigers will remain strong. They will continue to prance boldly, untouched by fears. Aunt Jennifer's versus her creation. She will die as a symbol of suffering, but her artwork will live on. Her tigers will forever embody the strength and confidence she never had. So we can conclude that Aunt's struggle will persist even after death. Her tigers will remain bold and fearless. Her art reflects the freedom she couldn't have. Poem's message and themes. Feminism and desire for freedom. Theme of gender inequality. The poem highlights the struggle of women in patriarchal societies. Aunt Jennifer's life represents the oppression many women face. Art as an expression of freedom. Though Aunt Jennifer is weak and submissive, her art is bold. Creativity allows people to express what they cannot in real life. The power of symbols. The tiger serves as a contrast between strength and submission. They realize hope for a future where women can be free and fearless. Women often face oppression in marriage. Art can express the freedom they desire. The tiger represent strength and feminine empowerment. Students, don't forget to like, share and subscribe the channel and share your comment.